All right, welcome to the conversation. Is there a deep state? Is there a big brother? Is it in America or is it in China or is it both? Good news, we're gonna answer all those questions. Joining me now is Thom Hartmann. He's the host of the Thom Hartmann Program and he's the author of The Hidden History of Big Brother in America, but hidden no more. Thom, welcome.
Hey, Cenk, it's great to see you again.
Good to see you,
Thank
brother.
you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. So I want to get back to China in a second because apparently what they're doing is even scarier. But first off, we have a big brother that's not hidden right now that folks talk about, Facebook and other social media platforms that take our information. Let me ask a couple of questions related to that, but the first one being, do you ever, like, they use it to sell ads. Everybody knows that, and people are uncomfortable with that in differing degrees. But do you ever get concerned that they might use it for political reasons? That they might capture information that is specific to you, not just aggregate information, and use it in that regard? Or are you not yet worried about that?
I think social media and big tech and search engines and whatnot have all been doing that all along, and it's extraordinarily intrusive when you go back and look at what the Cambridge Analytica did, on behalf of the Trump campaign and on behalf of the Ted Cruz campaigns back in the day. They were micro-targeting people based on little tiny slices of preference. Have you ever owned a motorcycle? What brand of cigarettes do you smoke? Those kinds of things. Not necessarily those specific things, but in my book, there's a list of about 1,000 individual items that are just most of these data sets are 2,000 or 3,000 things about you, very, very granular. But the ones that are selling your information or selling a score basically to landlords, to employers, to banks, to retail vendors, many of these companies are bragging that they've got 15 to 20,000 data points on every single individual. So yeah, it's entirely possible, and I would argue that in fact it has been used and exploited, not yet by the companies themselves, to the best of my knowledge, but by groups that are using the companies, like Cambridge Analytica and like the Russian government, getting Donald Trump into office in 2016, for example.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to what we can do about it, but you've got me curious about what China's doing with the social credit system. What is that?
Well, everybody's familiar with credit scores in the United States. If you don't pay your bills on time, your credit score goes down, or if you've got too much credit or not enough credit, your credit score goes down. In China, it's much more all-encompassing. If you show up late for a restaurant reservation, if you are caught in any kind of altercation in the streets, if you have any interaction with the police, if you have bad grades in school, if you talk back to the wrong person, if you say the wrong thing in social media, it can drive down your social media score. And what that then means is that your children won't get into good schools, or you won't get into a good college that you want. You'll be way behind on, in terms of being in the line for all kinds of things. Some dating companies won't take you on as a customer. You can't, obviously the economic stuff, it's harder to get credit, interest rates are higher, just like with our credit scores. But it goes way beyond that. It goes to pretty much every dimension of your life. Whether or not you can rent an apartment in a certain part of town, those kind of things. And one of the most rapid ways that you can increase your social media score is by saying nice things about the government on social media. It's not a social media score; it's a social credit score.
Yeah, that's a literal episode of Black Mirror. So that was one of the episodes that they did where your whole life is ranked, and if you drop below a certain mark, you don't get invited to things like weddings and etc. Right. And they're actually literally doing that. I would call that the God app because they are seeing and judging every part of your life, and that is an oppression that is unprecedented. God would be envious of that kind of judgment. If you will, or Santa Claus, because he too has a list of folks who are naughty and nice. A little bit different when it's in the Chinese government's hands. So have you seen the US slipping into that at all? And as I say that, one of the things I think about that I've always had a problem with, and I'm curious what you think about it, and see if it's expanded, is when the insurance companies start to judge your smoking habits, which then led into eating habits, which has started leading into all habits.
Yeah. Well, the insurance companies have been doing this for a long, long time. Now, for example, I have a Toyota, a plug-in Prius hybrid, and Toyota cut a deal with an insurance company. And because my car is continuously online, through cell towers and things, and that's sold as a great benefit. If you have a breakdown, you push a button and somebody will come. But because my car is continuously online, they know if I accelerate too fast away from stop signs, or if I run through red lights, or if I drive erratically. And so this insurance company, based on the information that Toyota gives them, will sell me insurance at a discount or not. And this is just the smallest tip of the iceberg. And it's not unique to Toyota, of course. So we're all under the microscope all the time. I mean, it gets so granular, Cenk, that both Facebook and some of these other companies, and in particular now your internet service providers, because we're the only developed country in the world where your internet service provider can legally observe absolutely everything you do online in real time. And this is because Ajit Pai and Donald Trump blew up net neutrality. And so the company bringing the internet into your house can literally, they come up with scores like your emotional state that have to do with how aggressively or slowly you type certain words, and how long you linger on certain pictures as you're scrolling through a news story, or you stop at an ad, or you look at the photos in the news story. On particular websites, they literally can read every single one of your emails, everything that's going on. I first really kind of woke up to this back, about 8 years ago, I think it was. My wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, and we were sharing computers with a whole bunch of other people at the TV studio that we were working. And so she would go in and she'd log on for a couple hours in the evening, and wherever she went. And this, literally, this was the day after her diagnosis. She hadn't told anybody except me and her doctor. They had communicated an email, and after a personal visit. And every computer she went to in that studio was throwing ads at her for wigs and prosthetic breast bras and things like this, to the point that some of the people we were working with making jokes. "Oh, Louise, you're thinking of buying a wig, huh?" And it's like, no, I have cancer. She's fine now, by the way. But this is how just extraordinarily scrutinized we are. And I think most people are unaware of it, other than the fact that, hey, maybe they have a conversation one afternoon while they're sitting next to a smart speaker about a particular product, and suddenly Amazon is trying to sell them that product. But it's a hell of a lot farther down the road than anybody thinks.
So here's what I'm really worried about, to connect those dots. So what the Chinese government doing is reprehensible, but logical. I get it. If you set up a system, you want it to reward you, and you want to create the right incentives and disincentives for that. And if you're an authoritarian government like the Chinese government, you don't care about ethics or privacy. So you want to reward people for praising the Chinese government, and you want to punish them for being against the Chinese government. So that's how you would design that algorithm. I understand it.
Right.
Here in
America,
Saudis
are doing the same. It's happening all over the world.
Right. Which country did you say was doing the same thing?
I said the Saudis. If you go on, it's not nowhere near as granular or sophisticated as China's. But if you say something that MBS doesn't like on social media, boom, you're in prison.
Yeah. So now here in America, we have corporate rule. So the government is less likely to do it. Corporations are more likely to do it, especially if they have really troublesome political enemies. So they have apps on all of our phones, and you hear the scary stories about how the apps are listening to you at all times. You put an app for one of these platforms and they pretty much own your phone and the things that you say near your phone. How true is that? Well, let me pause there, and then I've got one last question after that.
To the extent that they might be, activating your microphone and things like that, I haven't seen any evidence of anything like that yet. I'm not sure that that's a big concern, but some of these big data companies, the ones that are bragging that they've got 20 and 30,000 data points on you and on me and on everybody else in America, they're selling this information to big retail, and so when you call an airline, how long you wait on hold will be a function of a score that one of these companies has come up with that determines whether you're the kind of person who has enough affluence or enough free time that you might fly more frequently or not. There are stores that buy this. In fact, I believe it was, well, I don't want to name the drugstore chain because I may not be wrong. I may be wrong. It's in the book. But there was a drugstore chain that had hooked up with one of these companies and with a facial recognition company. So when you walked in the store, they knew who you were. They knew what your score was. They knew whether they should take returns from you or whether you might be a fraudulent person. It would determine whether you get followed around the store. I mean, this goes way beyond just somebody looking creepy, right? Or the racism that everybody's familiar with, it infiltrates every aspect now of business.
So the thing that every guy is worried about is, let's keep it real, online porn, okay? And so it has been a bit shocking that no one has used that yet against someone, right? And I remember Professor Juan Cole when they tried to target his sex life. That was the Bush and Cheney administration back in the day because he was against the Iraq War. Professor Cole said, luckily my sex life was really boring. So have you seen any movement in that direction? I haven't. And is it just a matter of time before a corporation thinks, well, we do have all of their browsing history and we could use it at any time?
Yeah, not just your browsing history. I mean, if you watch porn online, they know which movies you watched and how long you spent with them and, everything else. Right now, the companies that have access to all of that in its most granular form are the internet service providers. And, some of the really large ones are affiliated with rather right-wing management in many cases. To the best of my knowledge, none of them have like gone Soviet like that, but God only knows what they could do in the future with this information. I think, I'm not sure that porn is the big one because I think most men would say, yeah, I looked at porn online. What? I mean, if curiosity, if nothing else, right? I mean, it's a fairly common thing, but knowing, people have other secrets that they would much rather not get out there that have to do with everything from their creditworthiness to their relationships with other people, to whether they're skipping work or I mean, there's just 1,000 little things that could be used to harm people or embarrass people or humiliate people that go beyond just looking at porn. And once again, if you don't use a VPN, your internet service provider knows everything you do.
But if you do, the VPN knows everything you do.
Depends on the VPN company. Some of them, like ExpressVPN, openly advertises that their servers have literally no ability to record data built into them. There's not a hard drive on their servers that has the ability to record anything. So they are just providing you with a secure tunnel directly into a giant pipe for the internet, where your stuff just kind of gets lost. But if you've got an app on your computer that's tracking everything that you're doing, and there are a number of them that do that, then that company probably knows that stuff.
Yay. Okay. All right, Thom, the book is called The Hidden History of Big Brother in America. We're out of time, so you guys are gonna have to read the book to find out what the solution is. Thank you, Thom, for joining us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's great to see you again, Jen.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.